Hello, hello, hello. Hello, ladies. This is another live that I am filming today. I'm just kind of trying to get in the mode of doing one video after the next. I wanted to come on and just say hello and to pick up with the professional corporate career women series that I initiated. For those of you who have not been tuning in, I'm Jess. I actually am the founder of Black Travelers Network. The Black Travelers Network platform consists of a variety of women who are in a vast amount of different professional fields. We're talking about sisters in corporate, sisters who own their own businesses. We also have a fair amount of men who are also a part of the community. So I don't want to gloss over it and make it seem like Black Travelers Network is just for women, because we do have our brothers in the community too. It's actually a nice little balance between men and women who love to travel. We have a get in where you fit in kind of culture, and folks come on any one of our trips if their schedule permits. And so I created a series that speaks specifically to those sisters who are in the corporate space or who work in more professional environments. A lot of times, these are some of the most amazing women that I meet when we have our trips around the world. And so if you want to access some of the old videos around career and professional women, I'd say just go to the Black Travelers Network playlist here on YouTube. And there's a whole section for a whole series of videos that are dedicated towards women, largely in the corporate space. And you can access those videos. And it's a growing list, so more videos will be more videos will soon come on a number of different topics. So for those of you who are watching, if you do fit that particular category of being a woman that is in the career space, or I'm sorry, a woman who is in the corporate space, or you have a very professional type of work environment, a corporate type work environment, consider yourself to be a career woman. On Facebook, I did create a Facebook page called Revise Sisters Career. And sisters is spelled very uniquely, Sistahs. It's called Revise Sisters Career. So revise like revision, sisters like all of you, or those of you who watch, and your career. And so one of the topics that I took on this week in the Facebook page / community is really this topic around having a vision and creating a vision for your life. You know, so many men are tasked with having a vision for themselves, having a vision for their families. But we as women, oftentimes the main creators of these like vision board parties and or conversations around where do you see yourself going? Where do you see yourself in 5 years and 10 years? A lot of that is something that women oftentimes initiate. And so I wanted to further that conversation on the Facebook platform on the Facebook page, Revise Sisters Career. And so I just want to say about that topic very briefly. When we get into corporate environments and we're given all of this responsibility, maybe we're responsible for achieving a certain goal, like securing a certain account or bringing in a certain amount of money for the company, or leading and running teams. We are given so much responsibility and we're trusted with so much that oftentimes what it is that we really want and what we really need and what we see for ourselves in our lives, it often goes ignored. And I'm not saying it goes ignored by the people around us and the people we work with. Oftentimes it goes ignored by us. And so I feel like it is so important and so critical to prioritize what your vision is for yourself and your life. This is so key, because in order to figure out where you're going from a professional and career standpoint, what your career path is, you need to be really clear about what it is you want. And sometimes that's one of the hardest questions for us to answer. I remember working in a very corporate, very professional type of environment, and I remember being asked, well, what do you want to do in the next 2 years? Where do you see yourself within the company in 5 years? And I probably said this in previous videos. I could never answer that question. And I don't know that I couldn't answer it because I didn't have an understanding of what I wanted. I think my hesitation at that time was because the answer that I landed on was, I don't want to be here. When I started working, I remember telling myself, I will only be at this job for 1 year. I wanted to make enough money so that I could afford to pay the fees on a patent that I wanted to get. And I ended up taking what should have been 1 year, or what in my mind was 1 year, and it went from 1 year all the way to almost 14 years, like almost a 14-year career. But every time I was asked that question of where do you want to be within the company, within 5 years, within 2 years, I just couldn't see it. I couldn't answer it. And part of it is because I couldn't answer it for myself. It wasn't until, I want to say maybe like 2006, 2007, when I was assigned to work in Los Angeles. And by the way, at that time, I never wanted to venture to Los Angeles. I never wanted to work in Los Angeles because in my mind, Los Angeles was superficial, very, very superficial. And I was like, I don't want to be in a place where, things are so superficial. And so it ended up being that I got to Los Angeles and I looked around me, and there was all this wealth. I mean, like all this stuff that you never see on television. I remember driving to my hotel, which at that time was in Koreatown, which is not that far from the Hollywood Hills. And so I'm looking at these beautiful hills with these large mansions. I'm driving down the street and I'm seeing these massive properties on the side of me. And I'm like, how do these people live like this? How can people afford to live such lavish, extravagant lifestyles? And I knew not everybody was in the entertainment industry. And so it prompted me to go to the bookstore, Barnes and Nobles at that time, and look to figure out how do people make money? Like, I'm like, it has to be in a book somewhere here in Los Angeles, right? And so at that time, I stumbled on the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And reading that book changed my life fully and completely. And that's when I started to get more into trying to understand real estate, uncovering how do people make money in real estate, because my understanding was that people had to become real estate agents, buy property, sell property, and that's how they got all this money. Some people were really successful, so some people made a lot of money in real estate. But that was the extent of my knowledge. And when I read the book, it totally changed my life, and it made me dream bigger. And so if you're in the corporate space and as a professional woman, if you struggle with understanding what it is you want for the next 2 years or 3 years or 5 years or whatever, what it is that you want for your future, if that's a question that you struggle with, I would always ask, like, what do you see yourself doing? And what was the last book or books that you read? Because a lot of times books will be the catalyst to uncover certain things within ourselves. I naturally am a person that does not read fiction books. I always have said I live in the real world. What am I going to waste my time reading something that's not based on the real world? It just didn't make sense to me. And so for me, I decided that a lot of the content that I would consume in terms of the type of material that I would read would have to be something that was rooted in reality, rooted in truth, and something that I could learn from. And I believe that once I started just perusing the Barnes and Noble and looking through the bookstore and seeing which topics jumped out at me, that started to spark my interest in other things. And sooner or later, I was able to uncover the thing that I really wanted to pursue, which at that time was real estate. And that just got the ball rolling on so many other levels and so many other different ways for me. Created a whole opportunity for me to have a pathway out of the corporate career path that I was on. And so I so as a result, I just always encourage people to read more. And if you don't want to read, there are always audiobooks. And if you're not into the audiobooks, because I a lot of times don't really get into the audiobooks because it'll put me to sleep, I have to be an active participatory reader. I always say that, it's important to just be in an environment where there are books, whether it's the library or the bookstore. Just take a walk around books and just look at the shelves and see what jumps out at you. And if there's something that calls you, grab it, pick it up, and start to read it. And hopefully that'll spark something in you. So again, this was all about vision. Have a vision for your life before you even consider or before you even think about having a vision for your career, because your career won't really line up the way you like for it to line up until you get very clear about what it is that you want and very clear about what it is that you need in your regular everyday life. All right, ladies and gentlemen, ladies, probably some gentlemen watching as well. It's applicable whether you're male or female. I just love having side conversations sometimes with the ladies. And so until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I will be signing off. Take care.